Well, good morning, grandkids. This is the last morning of this bookshelf series, and I couldn't find the book in the game, although I've seen it before, I'm sure, and I think someone referenced it to me once that they'd like to hear it, but I didn't find it, so I'm gonna read to you this morning the same story I was looking for out of one of my mini Skyrim books. But Grandma Shirl's wanted to share a last view with you as we read. Let me see. Here, we shall look out over this lovely, lovely morning outside on her porch as I read to you The Fall of the Snow Prince. And I think that this story, even though it's concerning a battle, it's such a heroic story. And the opposite warriors of the Snow Prince who were fighting against him, I think that they were heroic. They paid him a great homage. So I really like this story. From whence he came, we did not know, but into the battle he rode, on a brilliant steed of pallid white. Elf we called him, for elf he was, yet unlike any other of his kind we had ever seen before that day. His spear and armor were the radiant and terrible glow of unknown magicka, and so adorned this unknown rider seemed more white than warrior. I don't really understand what white means. I never have. I don't have much light. What troubled, no, frightened us most at that moment was the call that rose from the elders' ranks, elven ranks. It was not fear, not wonder, but an unabashed and unbridled joy, the kind of felicity felt by a damned man who has been granted a second chance at life. For at that time the elves were as damned and near death as ever they had been during the great skirmishes of Solstheim. The battle of the Moesring was to be the final stand between Nord and Elf on our fair island. Led by Isgrimor, we had driven the Elsweyr from Skyrim and were intent on cleansing Solstheim of their kind as well. Our warriors, armed with the finest axes and swords Nord craftsmen could forge, cut great swaths through the enemy ranks. The slopes of the Moesring ran red with elf blood. Why, then, would our foes rejoice? Could one rider bring much hope to an army so hopeless? I gotta hold this way up here, I'm sorry. To most of our kind, the meaning of the call was clear, but the words were but a litany of elven chants and cries. There were some among us, however, the scholars and chroniclers, who knew well the words and shuddered at their significance. The Snow Prince is come. Doom is at hand. There was then a great calm that overcame the elves that still stood. Through their mass the Snow Prince did ride, and as a long boat slices the icy waters, of the fielding, he parted the ranks of his kin. The magnificent white horse slowed to a gallop. Wait a second. I don't know what's going on with my stupid screen. Stay put. Can't you see this picture of this majestic elf on this majestic white horse riding through the ranks? Everybody's quiet now, and he's just riding through the ranks. I just think it's a cool picture. A Nord warrior sees much in a life of bloodshed and battle, and is rarely surprised by anything armed combat may bring. But few among us that day could have imagined the awe and uncertainty of a raging battlefield that all at once went motionless in silence. Such is the effect the snow prince had on us all. For when the joyous cries of the elves had ended, there remained a quiet known only in the solitude of slumber. It was then our combined host, elf and Nord alike, were joined in a terrible understanding. Victory or defeat mattered little that day on the slopes of the Moesring Mountains. The one truth that we all shared was that death would come to many this day, victor and vanquished alike. This calmness just spread over the whole field, both armies, and they all knew what the coming of this prince meant, that death awaited a lot of them. Like a sudden violent snow squall that rends travelers blind and threatens to tear loose the very foundations of the sturdiest hall, the snow prince did sweep into our numbers. Indeed, the ice and snow did begin to swirl and churn about the elf as if called upon to serve his bidding. The spinning of that gleaming spear whistled a dirge to all those who would stand in the way of the snow prince, and our mightiest fell before him that day. Alfgi Anvilhand, Strom the White, Frida Odenwand, Hamdel the Frenzied, all lay dead at the feet of the Moesring Mountains. For the first time that day, it seemed the tide of battle had actually turned. The elves, spurred on by the deeds of the Snow Prince, rallied together for one last charge against our ranks. It was then, in a single instant, that the Battle of Moesring came to a sudden and unexpected end. Fenna, daughter of Jeffrey, a lass of only 12 years, and squire to her mother, watched as the Snow Prince cut down her only parent. In her rage and sorrow, Fenna picked up Jeffrey's sword and threw it savagely at her mother's killer. When the elf's gleaming spear stopped its deadly dance, the battlefield fell silent, and all eyes turned to the Snow Prince. No one that day was more surprised than the elf himself at the sight that greeted them all. For upon his great steed the Snow Prince still sat, the sword of Jeffrey buried deeply in his chest. And then he fell from his horse, from the battle, from life. The Snow Prince lay dead, slain by a child. When their savior defeated, the spirit of the remaining elven warriors soon shattered. Many fled, and those that remained on the battlefield were soon cut down by our broad Nord axes. When the day was done, all that remained was the carnage of the battlefield. And from that battlefield came a dim reminder of valor and skill, for the brilliant armor and spear of the Snow Prince still shined. Even in death, this mighty and unknown elf filled us with awe. It is common practice to burn the corpse of our fallen foes. This is as much a necessity as it is custom, for death brings with it disease and dread. Our chieftains wished to cleanse Solstheim of the elven horde, in death as well as in life. It was decided, however, that such was not to be the fate of the Snow Prince. One so mighty in war, yet so loved by his kin, deserved better, even in death, even if an enemy of our people. I just think that's cool. It almost makes me cry. And so we brought the body of the Snow Prince, wrapped in fine silks, to a freshly dug barrow. The gleaming armor and spear were presented on a pedestal of honor, and the tomb was arranged with treasures worthy of royalty. Isn't that something that they would do that for an enemy just because they honored his bravery and the love that his people had for him? And they buried him where it was reserved for the Nord dead only. So ends the account of the battle of the Moesring and the fall of the magnificent elven Snow Prince. May our gods honor him in death, and may we never meet his kind again in life. I just love that story, and I'm so glad that it was in one of my Morrowind or Skyrim books. I have a Morrowind book too. So this is going to be the last reading of a story in this series. Maybe from time to time, Shirley and Inigo adventures. Maybe Shirley will read a book once in a while when they find one, and I think it might be a little interesting. So until then, I'll see you in the next episode of Shirley and the next episode of Jandor. And I hope I know that everyone's enjoyed this series, and I'm very glad of that. But for one thing, it gets to my throat. For another thing, I don't play that characters. I don't have time to play that character with playing all my other characters and preparing for future characters. So I can't get her enough books, and so I'm going to let this one go. Maybe way off in the future sometime I might do it again. I don't know. But for now, this is the end of Grandma Shirl's Bookshelf series. So I will see you later, grandkids, in whatever comes up next. Bye-bye.